my name is Jasmine Betka, and I'm from the Moore Park College Writing Center. Today, I'm going to share with you how to make an appointment at the Writing Center, as well as some APA 7th edition tips. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. All right, so to make an appointment, go ahead and go to that Moore Park College homepage, and then in the upper right-hand corner, there's a section that says Menu. Go ahead and click that, and then a bunch of tabs will pop down. Scroll down until you get to Students, so almost at the bottom. Click that, and then again scroll all the way down until you get to Tutoring. Once you click Tutoring, it'll take you to the Teaching and Learning Center homepage. Here you can find a ton of available resources, including all of the Teaching and Learning Center's possible tutoring centers. So for example, if you need help with math or science, you can visit the Math and Science Center. If you need help with languages or ESL, you can visit that center. Or if you need some online tutoring, or if you're looking for a course embedded tutor for math, all of that's available here to the right in this menu bar. For the Writing Center, go ahead and click Writing Center, and that will take you to the Writing Center's homepage. So here, again to the right, is a ton of available resources, including some extra tips on how it works, or if you need some help with any writing or studying tips, there's a ton of available handouts there, including an APA 7th edition handout. You can also meet the tutors and read a little bio about them, or even look for upcoming workshops and events. So for example, if you're looking to go to a transfer essay workshop or letter writing event, that will all be available to find here. But to make an appointment, you can go ahead and scroll down past that first picture, and on the left there'll be a little box that says make an appointment. Go ahead and click that, and that will take you to a new page. It'll then say visit our scheduling site. You're going to want to click that, and this box will pop up. So here, all of the available times and dates that a tutor is available will show up. So if you're looking for any tutor, all of the tutors come up, or you can come up here and change it if you're looking to work with a specific tutor, and just their available times will show up. So all you're going to do is pick the time and date that works best for you. You'll select that and you'll hit next. If you've never made an appointment before, it will ask you to make an account. Just go ahead and do that and follow the steps. It's pretty simple, just like an email and a password. And then you'll complete all of the steps until you get that confirmation email. Make sure you get that confirmation email because it shows that you completed the make an appointment stage. In that email, you'll also receive a Zoom link to work with your tutor. So you'll use that specific Zoom link for that tutor, and you'll get a 45-minute session with them. So one-on-one, just like it would have been on campus, but here it's online via Zoom. And you'll be able to work on any stage of the writing process, from brainstorming to a draft to if you need help with citations, all of that good stuff. We also have email tutoring available if you can't make an appointment, and this is also available at that first Writing Center homepage, so you can find all of the details there. But this is the email that you would use, and you'd want to include this information, including your ID and your course and professor's name, the assignment, and any details you have, and then you'll email that over and you'll receive feedback one time per paper within 24 to 48 hours. So it's not as detailed as working online with a tutor, but it's another option available for you. So now we're going to go over some of the components to APA 7th edition. So first, let's just cover some of the general rules. So 7th edition actually allows for some different font use, so that's kind of fun. You get to pick what font you want to use, as long as it's one of these main fonts, including Times New Roman, Calibri, Arial, Georgia, Lucinda Sans Unicode, and it gives the specific font size to use with each of those fonts. So you can have a little bit more freedom, but the one main thing in APA is you want to always double space your work. So everything's going to be left aligned and double spaced with 1-inch margins. So those are kind of the biggest takeaways for general formatting for APA paper. And in 7th edition, you only use one space after a period. So if you're used to hitting that enter key or the space bar twice, just only hit it once. Some other general APA rules include the effort to use inclusive or bias-free language. So this actually includes using they as a singular, not plural, pronoun, and you can use it as a gender-neutral pronoun. So for example, a researcher's work depends on how often they are able to get funding. In the past, you may have seen a researcher's work depends on how often he or she is able to get funding. So now you can just use this bias-free language. And also you want to change descriptive phrases instead of using adjectives as nouns to label groups. So what I mean by this is you don't want to say the poor or the autistic student, the disabled individual. Instead, you want to say people living in poverty, the student with autism, the individual with the disability. So make sure you're putting that description in a phrase and not using it as an adjective before the noun. You also want to think of how specific you can be with everything. For example, you don't want to say over 65 if you can say 65 to 75, because now over 65 is a pretty big population. So you want to really be as specific as possible when labeling ranges, particularly in data. So let's review some of the parts of the paper. Today we're going to cover title page. We're going to go over some of the body of work, and we're also going to look at the reference page. So in APA 7th edition, if you're used to APA 6th edition, there used to be a running head up here on the left. There's no more running head for students' papers in APA 7th edition, so definitely don't worry about that. The first thing you'll start with is a page number in the top right corner. This page number will continue through all of your pages, so through the body of your work, through your reference page, you'll keep that running page number. Then you're going to want to go 3 to 4 lines from the top, and in centered and boldface, you're going to want to write your title. So your title is also in appropriate capitalization. Then you include one extra double blank space before you put your name. So we have our title, centered bolded, and then one extra double space and our name. And then you're going to want to include your affiliation. So this would be the department and school if you're writing for an academic source. So for example, Department of Psychology, Moorpark College. Then you want to include your course. So whatever your course number is and the name of your course, that would be next, followed by your instructor and the due date. So don't include the date you wrote the paper on or when you finished your paper. You want to include the due date for the date. So just to recap, start with that page number. Then you're going to go 3 to 4 lines down, have your title, skip one extra double space line, then start with your name, affiliation, and then your course instructor and due date. And this here is all just double spaced. So APA papers can be in many formats and styles. Today we're going to mostly look at a research methods paper, which would include methods, results, and discussion. But you can also write an APA paper for a literature review or a research paper or anything else. So really APA is the type of format you use and the citations that you use within, but there's different structures that are appropriate for different styles of paper. So in general, when we start with an introduction, I always draw it in an upside down triangle in terms of that you go from broadest to specific. So you can start your introduction with a hook or some sort of informative attention grabber, and then you want to get into the central background information. So whatever is needed to understand your paper or the main essential information in your paper. So that kind of comes next, and that should also start getting more specific as you work down. And then in general, you end on a thesis. For a research methods paper, that can be a hypothesis. So if you're personally doing research, you're going to want to include your hypothesis, or if you're analyzing, your thesis would kind of form up what your whole paper's about. So that's the most specific piece of your paper. That should always come at the end of your introduction, before any of your sections. So let's look at the first section to this type of paper, and that would be your methods section. So when you think of methods, you're really describing to the reader how data was collected, evaluated, reported. This is all about the structure of the design and the data that was collected, how it was collected. So since this is past, you're going to want to use past tense. And then when you think about it, data usually has to do with quantitative or qualitative data. So quantitative being number related, and qualitative being descriptive or kind of quality of information I like to think of. So asking people questions and getting responses that aren't separated into quantitative or numerical values. But so for your method section, if you are using quantitative data throughout your paper, so this covers empirical data, you're going to want to include the participation, how'd you get your participants, who are your participants, what group were you searching for, what was your sampling procedure and your sampling size? Was this 20 Moore Park college students in your class, or was this 100 randomly sampled students from your school? Was it from the whole district? All of that's extremely important to describe in your methods section. You want to also include any measures or collection methods. So how are you collecting the data? What kind of measures are you going to use or did you use? And then also you want to cover the research design and what the intervention was. So this is all about the methods for creating the study or creating the research process. Qualitative information has similar formats. Again, that research design. You want to include description, participation, was there relationships with the participants? Was this something over a long time? Was it recruitment? Did you pay participants? Did you compensate them in any way? How did you collect the data? All of that is part of your methods section. And you want to describe it in enough detail that someone could replicate the experiment. So that's a good way to think about it. Like, how did I do this? What did I include? Or how did the individual that I'm analyzing include this? What did they include to create this study design? So another way to just kind of more visually look at this is the participants. So the who, the how many, that kind of all goes under the participant section. So who are they? How did you get them? How many of them are there? And that kind of oversimplifies it, but I think that provides just that good little mental note. And then you also want to look at the materials. So did you use a survey, any different type of instrument? Was this a questionnaire? How did you gather the information? And then also the procedure. What did participants do? What was the variable? What was the control group? So all of that specific detail is really important to include in your methods section. The results would be that next part of your paper. And I know results sounds like, okay, well, this is what happens and this is what it means, but you actually want to save all the interpretations for the discussion portion, which is next. So the results is really the statistical and data analysis of the data you gathered. So what type of statistical calculations were used? Was it a t-test? Did you calculate standard deviation, ANOVA, etc.? You're going to want to walk through all of those statistical and data analysis points. You also want to include in your data if anything was missing. Did participants drop out in the study? Were you not able to collect information after a certain point? And within your statistics, what was the confidence interval? Why was that test the best? Inferential statistics also looks at the results between groups. So all of that kind of goes in that, as well as if there were any problems. Like I said, were you missing data because participants dropped out, or you couldn't get consent, or anything else? Or sometimes you start with 100 participants and you end with 50. So what problems occurred within your data set? So kind of do that statistical analysis, explain those statistics and what the results of the statistical calculations were, but don't make any interpretations yet. The next section is the discussion section, and this does start to make those interpretations. This looks at the information in relation to the hypothesis. It makes interpretations and inferences off of it, and it also kind of relates to how generalized can this be? How applicable is this to other groups? What are the implications of this information? Right? Correlation does not mean causation, but what can you imply with the information discovered? So those are kind of the three main chunks to a research methods paper. So we have methods, results, and discussion. And then you're going to want to have that conclusion. But in these papers, we use headings throughout to separate each one of these sections. So a first level heading is always centered, bold, and title case, just meaning the proper use of upper and lower case. And this would go for anything that is a main section. And that also includes your title is considered a first level heading, as well as your conclusion. So those are kind of the main chunks. After that, so if you have a main chunk, so for example, your methods section, but you're looking at participants within that methods section. So that would be flush left bold and a title case heading as well. So that would be a level 2 heading because it fits in under this bigger section. If you were to break participation or participants down even further, if you had subcategories within that, that would be a level 3 heading, and that would be flush left bold italics and also title case. So this sounds a little bit confusing, but let's look at how it may look in an actual paper. So if I was doing research on mental health and COVID-19, that would be my title, and I'd have it center bold with appropriate title case. And so after my introduction, I would write my introduction after my title. And then my first section would be my method section. So the reason we don't write introduction after our title is because the reader assumes that the immediate information following a title is your introduction. So that's why we just have title and then we jump into our introduction. But after the introduction, we'd cover our method section. So that's like our next main level 1 heading. And within that method section, we might use level 2 headings, which would include participants, where we describe all of that information, materials, and procedures. So those all fall under this level 1 heading, but we'd use this level 2 heading because they're specific subsections. After that, we would return back to a level 1 heading to go to results. If I had anything specific within that, I could go back to a level 2 heading. For example, if I wanted to have data problems, and even within that, if I wanted to have a level 3 heading of participation dropout or missing calculations, that could be another section under that. So you want to just think of it as what that bigger group is and what's in that group. And then my next level 1 heading may be my discussion section. And within that, I may have level 2 headings of interpretations and implications. And then when I'm all done, I come back to a level 1 heading and I label it conclusion. And that's how we wrap the paper up. So that kind of shows you how APA uses headings to indicate to the reader what section they're at and what information is about to follow. So in general, we always want to have that double-spaced paper in the proper fonts with the proper sections, but not just write those sections. We want to use headings to indicate those sections to the reader. So this is an example from the APA publication manual, and it's of a literature review paper, but you can see how this looks in an actual format. So here they have their section, so it's a level 1 heading, and within that section, they have 2 level 2 headings. So you can have multiple paragraphs within a section. You can have a level 1 heading in a paragraph and then another level 1 and then go to level 2. So it's more about that proper label. It's not specific to you can only have 1 paragraph under a heading or anything like that. So once you're all done with all of your paper, you're going to want to have that reference page. And this comes at the end, and all of your sources you use in your paper must be included in your reference page. So I'm not going to do a super detailed description of how to make a reference page, but I'm just going to give you kind of the formatting tips for it. So you're going to use references as the title, and it's going to be centered in bold. And like I said before, you want to continue that page number in the top right corner, and you want to continue that double spacing within and between your references. When a reference is longer than 1 line, you use a 1/2 inch hanging indent. So I'll show you within just a second, but what that means is your reference starts at a 1 inch margin, but if it continues past 1 line, it now becomes a 1.5 inch margin, the subsequent lines after line 1. And you're also going to want to alphabetize your entries. So this is what a reference page actually looks like. And here you can see how when a source continues past 1 line, there's that hanging indent. So this is how you can spot a new source, because everything is just double spaced. There's no extra spaces in between or anything like that. There's no extra space between references, just all double spaced. And then you have that 1/2 inch hanging indent when a source continues. So if you're having trouble formatting, there's some tips for Microsoft Word. I'm sorry, I'm not very good with Mac, so hopefully maybe you can get some help from one of your classmates or someone else. But for Microsoft Word, if you go to View and you click Ruler, the little ruler tab will pop up, and this will normally be under here, so it kind of almost looks like an hourglass. You want to select the section that you want that extra 1/2 inch indent, and then very carefully just move that little second half to this over, and that will give you this 1/2 inch indent. There's also a lot of great available resources. I hope I see you in the Writing Center if you need help, but if not, you can use the apastyle.apa.org. You can also use Purdue OWL or Scribr. Scribr has really good citation generator tools, but always check that. And it kind of also covers the general rules for everything. So that's all I have for the APA 7th edition paper formatting. Like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to stop by the Writing Center, make an appointment, and also check out our Writing Center resources online, because that includes a handout with kind of all of these rules in a little bit more detail. So take care and stay safe.